This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Steelers Nation, what is going on? Welcome to episode 90 of the Steelers Culture Podcast, where we break down Pittsburgh Steelers football. And the Steelers Culture Podcast is powered by BetUS.
And on episode 90 of the Steelers Culture Podcast, we will be discussing why Broderick Jones is not getting any first-team reps amongst training camp, at least through the first 2 weeks, which is
a mistake.
A mistake, concerning, and quite confusing. It just makes no sense why Troy Fautanu is looking great all camp thus far, going up against guys like TJ Watt and Nick Herbig and holding his own consistently against those guys, against the Wisconsin Badger alumni. And then you got Dan Moore still starting at left tackle, not Broderick Jones. You got Dan Moore getting the majority of the first-team reps, not Broderick Jones. Just a mistake to me.
Yeah, it's just, what are we doing at this point?
I have no idea.
We'll get into it.
We'll get into that, as well as the continued quarterback competition between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And yes, at this point, I am starting to think this might be a legitimate competition because it seems like the Steelers are either they're really trying to give Justin Fields a true chance to be the starter, or Russell Wilson is just really suffering from his calf injury.
Yeah,
it's very interesting to see the how limited Russell Wilson is. But before we get into that, man, huge shout out to our sponsor of this video, of this podcast, BetUS, a new sponsor for the entirety of the 2024-2025 NFL season, man. BetUS, if you guys are looking for a new sports book this upcoming NFL season, BetUS is the answer, man. You're talking about the fastest payouts in the industry, fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process, 24/7 personalized service every day, live wagering on all major games, which we all love, and I'm a betting man, so I was looking for a sports book this upcoming season, and BetUS, one of the best things about them is they have a promo going. They have a 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 off your first 3 deposits. And seeing that this is episode 90 of the Steelers Culture Podcast, shout out to TJ Watt.
Yeah.
And, of course, we can't really wager on the games until the weeks actually happen. I mean, you could wager on the games, sure, but there's not much you can wager. But they have all of the future stats, season awards, season stat leaders, specials. They have divisional rankings, right? They got all these future bids that you guys could put a wager on right now if you guys desire to. So, being that it's episode 90, let's talk about TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year, man. He should have already won it how many times by now?
3 times.
He was robbed of it last year for Myles Garrett. Ridiculously. TJ Watt, man, he is favored second at plus 600 to win Defensive Player of the Year, just below Minka Parsons, which I find comical. If you guys are feeling confident, if you guys are feeling great with TJ Watt potentially being the 2024-2025 NFL Defensive Player of the Year winner,
why wouldn't you be?
feel free to put a bid. Feel free to put a wager on it right now via our custom link down in the description below, as well as pinned at the top of the comment section. So again, huge shout out to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. Please gamble responsibly.
And safely.
Now, let's get into this video, man. Let's get into the Broderick Jones discussion. Why is he not getting first-team reps? I can't think of a really good reason why he isn't. It makes no sense to me that they traded up for this guy, drafted this guy to be the future left tackle, which Omar Khan did confirm this past offseason, and now he's not getting first-team reps. He has less than a handful of first-team reps all camp through the first 2 weeks. Dan Moore is the starting left tackle opposite Fautanu in first-team sessions. Why?
Yeah, that I just don't understand.
You literally drafted 2 tackles in back-to-back years for a reason. It's because the starter for the last 3 years, Dan Moore, just was not doing the job.
Dude, after year 2 for Dan Moore, I mean, like, that was it. And the Steelers knew that immediately. That's why they traded up to get Broderick. It's just they had nobody else at right tackle besides Chucks. He didn't really do too well. They had to put Broderick there because they didn't feel comfortable moving Moore out or taking Moore out of the starting lineup. Thus, Broderick was the starting right tackle for the remaining half of the season last year, which he did pretty solid. But we all know that Broderick is a more natural left tackle.
Yes, and looking back at it, seeing how they moved Broderick to right and kept Dan Moore at left the entirety of the season, it was almost like a writing on the wall that we didn't know about until literally right now, where he is still the left tackle and Fautanu is the right tackle, as he should be. And as he is going to be long-term, he's holding that position very nicely in camp. The real test will be in preseason in the next coming weeks. We can't wait for that. But why is Broderick Jones not getting first-team reps? Is it because maybe they want to, perhaps they want to give Fautanu as many reps as possible at right tackle to make sure they have a true right tackle there to make sure that that position is solidified? But if that's the case, I still don't understand why you have your first-round pick last year alongside him on the opposite side. Maybe they're trying to keep Dan Moore as conditioned into the lineup as possible. That way, maybe Fautanu isn't as ready as the Steelers want him to be. That way, they have that fallback on Broderick Jones, seeing he played right tackle the majority of last season.
Sure.
But even then, it just doesn't make sense to me. In fact, Broderick Jones is still seeing more time at right tackle than he has left all camp. So perhaps that's exactly what they're doing. Maybe they're trying to give Fautanu as many reps as possible. That way, maybe he is ready, that they can move Broderick to left. But the obsession of Dan Moore just boggles my mind. He's got to have blackmail on somebody for him to not be benched at this point. Listen, nothing personal against Dan Moore. He was serviceable, but there was a reason that they drafted 2 tackles in back-to-back years, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is the first time in franchise history.
Omar Khan's first 2 draft classes, and he is looking to have franchise tackles.
At right and left.
Fautanu, he's been fully right tackle at practice, and he's proving himself time and time again as the weeks go by in training camp, leading to preseason.
Sure.
He's holding his own against TJ Watt. Not a lot of people can say that, yet this rookie, a man that fell to the Steelers' lap at pick 20, he wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah, right.
He was never supposed to be there, but he fell. Steelers said, he's going to be our guy, he's going to be a Steeler.
Right.
He's proving himself a right tackle. He's doing a fantastic job from what people have been seeing, what we have been hearing on social media from Steelers insiders. He's getting all the reps at right tackle. Why is Broderick not getting the reps at left tackle?
I don't know. We don't know the entire. Obviously, the Steelers know a lot more than we do. They see things that we're not allowed to see, right? Now, again, it's only 2 weeks into training camp, so perhaps things change towards the second half of training camp as we edge further into the real action, the preseason games. But even then, once you want to put in your first rounder a year ago to get him as ready for that position as possible. Now, we know Broderick Jones coming out of Georgia was still raw. He played 1 full year in some playoff change at left tackle for Georgia, right? Helping them win back-to-back championships. So, yes, he was still a little raw, but that didn't stop the Steelers from putting him out of position at right tackle last year. So now that he has the chance to be put in his comfortable spot, why isn't he giving that chance early on in the camp? All of camp, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. I mean,
It's hurting his growth.
No, it is, because you got your first-round pick this year, Fautanu, again, at right tackle, and first-team reps. At the same time, you still have Dan Moore getting the first-team reps in the same lineup as Fautanu. It feels like you're I don't want to say they're benching Broderick, but that's what it comes off as.
It seems like they're trying to make Broderick the swing tackle, the swing depth guy.
Why would you do that to your first-round tackle last year that you traded up for?
I don't know.
You traded up for him for a reason.
Now, this doesn't mean Dan Moore would be the starter all season. I mean, I would hope he isn't the starter week 1, because we've seen that too often now. And now that we have someone that we can literally put in his place, Broderick Jones was far and away the best tackle at both spots last season.
No question about it.
Easy. He was better than Moore. He was better than Chucks at left and right. So, again, now that he has the chance to be put at his natural position where he thrives, where he can really just stay and staple himself as a core piece, as a pillar for this line, I don't know why they would try to hinder him by making him a depth piece early on into the season. Dan Moore, if he is going to start week 1, he wouldn't start all season, but I don't know why he'd start in general.
It's just ridiculous. I just find this Dan Moore experiment to like they're just stretching it at this point.
It's like
they just need to be honest and upfront to themselves and just be like, listen, like this guy ain't cutting it, and he hasn't been. Like,
but we
got to cut the cord. We gotta get off the experiment. There's a reason why we drafted these 2 tackles, these 2 studs, these 2 franchise pillars that we're looking and hoping for them to be.
See, this even goes back to the end of last season, where Mike Tomlin was asked, where are you going to put Broderick Jones? And he said, I have no idea where I want to put Broderick Jones yet. Now, this is before they drafted Fautanu, but even then, it's like, Tomlin doesn't know where he wants to put a left tackle. Like, really?
You scouted Broderick Jones as a left tackle.
What?
You drafted him. Omar Khan said that we drafted him to be a left tackle.
And yeah, he said eventually, which that will still be the case, but why not immediately? It doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know why they would want to admit failure or I don't know why they're afraid to admit failure on Dan Moore, or why Tomlin won't admit failure on a guy like Dan Moore. It's not like Dan Moore was a first-round pick.
No.
Where he can admit wrong. He was a fourth-rounder that had to come in day one, right? And was, again, serviceable, but not enough to be a long-term piece.
Not enough to be a week one starter with the guys that you got now.
No.
That's just the way I see it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just confusing to me. It's actually pissing me off that Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu are getting very little time together in training camp in the first team sessions. Makes no sense. Why is Broderick limited? It doesn't come off as an ideal situation right now.
Like, listen, we all know the long-term vision at the tackle position. Broderick at left, Fautanu at right. We all know that long-term vision. I just don't get why they're like easing their way into.
Yeah, why are they holding
what
back
that's
on
going
it?
to be? I don't get it.
Why are they delaying the inevitable? Why are they delaying the good?
Especially the way Fautanu is performing again in training camp. He's holding his own. He's proving himself. The guy's a stud already.
Yeah, and let's get Broderick back at left. Let's get him comfortable. And let's get him going up against guys like Highsmith and Herbig, very similar to what Fautanu is doing with Watt and Herbig and vice versa, right? That's only going to make themselves better. That's only going to make the line better. It's going to make Broderick better. Get him as many reps as possible. That could still happen in the weeks to come. It's just confusing why they're not doing that yet and why they're not doing it so immediately when that's clearly the long-term vision. That's why you drafted them in back-to-back years in the first round. It's nonsense. It's just one of those things from the Steelers where it's such an obvious move to make, but it's just
they're just stubborn. They're just stubborn to make the move.
It's just one of those things I just cannot comprehend. It just doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, time will tell. We know that this is going to be the long-term plan, but Dan Moore could still be getting first-team sessions in the weeks to come. Broderick Jones, he should definitely get an increase. If he doesn't get an increase, then that's just more of a writing on the wall. That's kind of like just shoved it in your face. Hey, Dan Moore is still our starting left tackle, which is ridiculous.
I just don't get it. I don't.
No, but yeah, that's something we had to get off our chest because that pisses me off just to think about that. It's such an obvious move to make. You got this young stud ready to go, and is he hurt maybe? Could that be a reason? But he's still practicing.
I haven't heard anything about that, so I don't really find that to be an excuse.
No.
I have not heard anything about him being hurt, being limited. Like, there's no reason.
It's just another one of those things where they don't want to rush their rookies in. Like they did it last year. Broderick Jones wasn't a day one starter last year. He started his first game at left tackle versus the Ravens because Dan Moore got hurt.
Yeah.
And then once Dan Moore got healthy again, they moved him to right tackle. And then he started the second half of the season. A lot of our rookies didn't start until the second half of the season for God knows what reason. The Steelers need to stop easing these rookies in, okay? If they're ready to go, they're ready to go. I mean, they see a lot more than the fans do. I get that. But you draft these guys for a reason.
Like, their potential. The ceiling that they could reach. That's why you brought them in. That's why you selected them.
Everybody that you let walk, everybody you cut, everybody you traded and replaced with these guys, yeah, they're an immediate improvement. They're immediate additions and upgrades, ideally. So play the cats. Play them. Just simple as that, man.
All right, we'll see what happens throughout the rest of training camp leading into preseason. I just hope that we see more of Broderick over at left with Fautanu at right in first-team reps because that's obviously the long-term vision. I just want to see some of it ASAP. Maybe I'm a little bit impatient about it, but, I mean, that's a long-term vision. You might as well go full throttle into it.
And they've done them in certain sets. It's just keep it that way. Like, just keep it that way. It's just simple as that. But moving on, the other, I suppose, competition is, of course, quarterback, Russell Wilson versus Justin Fields. And yes, I am starting to think this is going to be a legitimate competition, or this is actually a legitimate competition, because in week one of Steelers training camp, Justin Fields got all the first-team reps due to Russell Wilson having a calf injury.
Yep.
Now, once the pads first came on, Russell Wilson was a participant, but he was not as much of a participant as Justin Fields is.
No.
It seems like they're still trying to ease him in, and I get that he's a veteran. You know, he's been around the league. He's a future Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, right? So maybe they don't want to throw him in so immediate because of that, because he's so well experienced. But it's also due to the calf injury. But it's a lot more limited than I thought. So is this calf injury more severe than we would have imagined? Or are the Steelers and Mike Tomlin really trying to give Justin Fields all the reps possible to make a strong case to be the Week 1 starter? Because he's getting a lot of them.
Yeah,
In fact, he's running all of the 7 shots drills. Well, not all, but the majority of them.
Yeah, I mean, Russ has been getting some 7 shots reps here and there, you know, and he's completed, you know, the majority of his passes in there. So, you know, he's zipping the ball to his target. You know, he's making some positive throws in there, but usually for the most part, he's just doing simple handoffs.
Simple handoffs, you know, simple little throws, you know, just kind of the basics.
Well, Justin Fields, I mean,
he's slinging it out there. He's throwing 30-yard, 40-yard bombers to Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin and George Pickens. Him and George Pickens are starting to cook in training camp.
Week 2 of training camp, Justin Fields looks to be more sharp than he was week 1.
He's getting comfortable.
Exactly. You know, as training camp continues, he's getting comfortable. You know, he's getting that chemistry building up with his players. You know, he's learning the playbook more. You know, his accuracy is getting on point. He's just zipping it to these guys.
In fact, tonight during Friday Night Lights, the offense went 7-0. Like they won flat out. It was
clean sweep.
Clean sweep, 7-0. So and Justin Fields threw 3 touchdowns in those 7 shots.
He did.
Like he's really starting to get comfortable. He's really starting to ease in. It's like he's settling in to like substantial growth here. Now, granted, we don't really know how much growth he has because we haven't seen any of the action yet.
No.
But from what we're hearing, from what's being reported, from the videos that are being shown from fans all over Latrobe and all that, Justin Fields is really coming into his own. And it seems like this is exactly what he needed. Like they're really developing him into the right path, in the right direction. Like he's throwing with some accuracy. He's throwing with some focus. He has some anticipation, which was one of his biggest negatives, is he couldn't process defenses and he couldn't process the timing of his throws. That has improved very much so the past couple weeks.
And day by day through week 2, he's been very consistent with it. And that's always been another issue with his play. You know, it's very flashy. You know, he can have a big game here and there, but it's very inconsistent.
Yeah, he'll make the most wild, crazy play you've ever seen, one play, and then he'll make a mind-boggling play the next. But he's really starting to focus into some consistency and some actual some growth, in my opinion.
And this is something that, you know, we wanted to see coming into Steelers training camp and hoping for, and this is what we're getting. We're just getting it a lot more than we anticipated because of Russ's calf injury.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just a calf injury. Like, truthfully, I don't know if it's just a calf injury. Maybe the Steelers are really trying to give Fields all the reps possible.
Could be that. Just to see, what they got in their young quarterback, because, I mean, it's got to be a thought in their mind that this guy has a chance to take the reign. Because, and
he's a free agent next year, so perhaps they want to see something from Fields where they're like, you know what, let's extend this guy, let's give him a chance in 2025.
They didn't trade for him just to be a backup. No, they traded for him because of his dynamic ability of the way he plays on the field, but also a way for him to learn from a guy like Russell Wilson, from him to work and practice and still develop and work on his inconsistencies, work on his flaws.
Well, not just that, but a guy like Arthur Smith, a guy like Tom Arth, who they brought in. Those are 2 fresh coaches into that coaching staff.
So they brought him in to be a backup, but also to be competition and to work on his negatives, and he's working with those.
Right.
They're going to give this guy a shot. And Fields is really starting to push for that shot.
Right. Now, I know it's just camp, so let's not overreact. Let's not get a little too excited, because last year was a massive example and will forever be an example to all of us. Don't overreact. Don't get too excited, because that is just camp. That is just preseason. We saw that firsthand. But this does look like some good promised. Like this is exactly what you want to hear.
Yeah.
This is exactly what you want to see from these guys, especially from someone like Justin Fields, where his inconsistencies has always been his downfall, and it's always been the one thing that has hindered his growth. And it seems like he's starting to really step away from that. He's starting to step into the right direction. And that's props to him for growing. That's props for the Steelers for putting him in the right direction from coaching him up and everything. You know, coaching makes a drastic difference in a player's growth.
It does.
So it's good. It's good to hear about that. We'll see if it continues. And, of course, the real action begins next Friday versus the Texans.
Yeah, and I would anticipate. Now, I don't know how far his recovery is, Russell Wilson's calf injury. I don't even know how severe it is.
No one does. And honestly, I don't know if he plays.
That's what I was going to get to. I don't think, as of right now, I don't think he plays the first preseason game. I think the reps that you probably would anticipate Russ to get is what Fields is going to get.
Yeah.
We could see a lot more Fields than we probably envisioned and anticipated, but that's not a bad thing whatsoever.
No, not at all.
Because we want to see what Fields could bring to the table.
No, not at all.
We want to see what Russ can bring to the table, but Fields is stepping in. He's taking the reps that Russ would have, and he's showing out. Let's see if he can do it in a game.
Yeah, these are good things that you just want to hear coming out of training camp. You know, it's like a more focused group of players, a more focused squad out there than years past. And that's going to lead us into our last segment of this podcast episode here is how about the intensity that everyone is bringing into training camp? And when we mean that, we mean like the scrums, the brawls, the fights that we're starting to see, the scuffs that we've seen this past week because Elandon Roberts hit Justin Fields late after a read option that forced him to the ground.
Yep.
And Troy Fautanu and Mason McCormick clearly didn't favor that whatsoever. They immediately backed up their quarterback, which is a a bit of fresh air for all of us, actually. Because when was the last time? In fact, I can tell you the last time that any of our offensive linemen stood up for our quarterback. It was probably Marquise Pouncey, or I'll even go up to, who was it? It was one of our tackles when Kenny got hit versus the Bills, I think. What tackle was it? It was one of the tackles.
I think it was.
Or was it a guard?
No, I think it was a guard. No, I think it was James Daniels.
Was it Daniels?
I think it was James Daniels, yeah.
Yeah, because Kenny got hit versus the Bills, I believe, and Daniels
No, he didn't take kindly to it, no.
No, but even so, you know, it's just like the whole group of guys are rallying around no matter what quarterback that they're snapping the ball to, that they're protecting.
And it's Fautanu and McCormick, two rookies. Two rookies are bringing that aspect back to the offensive line. It's been an aspect that has been absent for quite some time, probably since Big Ben left.
Yeah.
You know, I'll even say as far as Mason Rudolph, you know, remember the whole Mason Rudolph, Myles Garrett situation?
Yep.
You know, how that went down? Pouncey and DeCastro, they were not having any of that.
Oh, no.
They were not having any of that.
If they could have, they would have murdered Myles Garrett that night.
And that's an aspect that has been absent for quite some time. McCormick and Fautanu, even to their own teammate, they're like, bro, like this ain't going to slide. You're not going to do this to our quarterback.
No, man. And it's not just from the entire offensive line group, which props to them, man. We actually got linemen in that room that understand what it means to back up your quarterback, to protect who you're protecting, to stand up for literally the guy that's throwing the football.
And it doesn't matter.
The face of the team, really.
It doesn't matter who it is. It could be Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Kyle Allen, whoever, right? It doesn't matter. It's the fact of the matter is that's their quarterback. That's who they're trying to protect. If anybody, even their own teammate, is going to harm them, they're going to back that guy up because that's their guy.
And I think that's going to grow such great chemistry. I think that's going to grow such great respect and a great mentality back into the locker room.
Because that's how it was with Big Ben and the Goon Squad. You know, if anything happened to Ben, I mean, those guys are going to back him up 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, these young studs, McCormick, Fautanu, I'll even throw Broderick and Frazier in there, James Daniels, right? Isaac Sayamalu.
Yeah.
Guys like that. They're not going to put up with any of that crap.
No. Like that.
And props to them.
This is a good group that we got right here. This is a good group that's actually going to not only protect our quarterback and like literally preventing pressures and sacks and stuff like that, but literally defending the guy. Because there will be times where, you know, there will be late hits, there will be flags thrown, there will be slides from Wilson or Fields down the field, and the player will go after them. And, of course, none of these players are going to have it. Hell, who remembers the Panthers game years past when Ben slid, and I think it was DeCastro who wasn't having any of it.
No.
Like that's exactly what we needed back in the offensive line. So shout out to them. But not just them, but the entire intensity from not just the line, but even like the linebackers, the running backs, the entire group, backs on backers. This is intense.
It is.
Like these guys are talking smack. They're spitting to each other. It's like Najee and Queen. They're trash talking throughout the entire thing. Elandon Roberts, Jalen Warren. I mean, you're talking two dudes. These are two bulls going at each other at the same time. And they're just bringing that type of intensity. That's exactly what you want to see. And something like that is something that the Steelers have been lacking for a while. Like, I haven't seen such an intense camp in a long time.
No, not at all. I mean, it's been a while since we had that intensity back in practice, let alone the whole locker room. But it's a good thing to have.
It's like a small detail that might not matter to a lot of people, but like it's a step in the right direction in my opinion, because yeah, like we're getting dogs in the room. We're getting guys that want to play, that want to best themselves, no matter who the fuck they're going up against. Swear jar.
No, that's a big thing that you got to carry into football games. That's what you're going to want to have.
It's that big bully mentality.
Yeah.
No matter who you're going up against.
If you don't have that intensity in you during an NFL game, then you don't have the right mentality. Simple as that.
No.
These running backs, Najee and Warren, they have that. These linebackers, Elandon Roberts, Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, they have that intensity factor to them.
Well, it's just like if they go into a game and they get smacked by a linebacker and they do nothing about it, they're going to be looked at as soft. They're going to get bullied all game. Rather, if they spit back, yeah, these dudes are going to run you over. That's
they want to be taken seriously.
What do they call them? Angry runs? That's exactly what that's what they're going to bring to the table. And breed that with the linebacking core. I mean, it's contagious. It's contagious throughout the entire team. It's just going to spread around the entire locker room. That's gonna make everybody hungrier. I think that's a great aspect to see from this training camp. It's a silent positive from Steelers training camp thus far through the first 2 weeks.
And just keep it going.
Yeah,
keep it up, man.
Absolutely, man. But let us know your guys' thoughts down below. How do you guys feel about Broderick Jones not getting first team reps? Do you think he will?
I think he should.
I think he should too. I think we all agree he should. So how do you feel about the Justin Fields and Russell Wilson quarterback competition, if you want to call it one? I'm starting to call it one because Fields is getting a lot of reps, a lot more than I thought he would, especially with Wilson now back. So we'll see how that continues. And of course, again, the real action starts this upcoming Friday, where we will truly see how much time these guys are going to get, and based on that performance, how much time they're going to get in camp as camp concludes in the next couple weeks. So it's a big opportunity, man. But once again, thanks to BetUS for sponsoring today's podcast, man. Go check them out. Link in the description below. Sign up today. 125% deposit bonus, up to $2,000 off your first 3 deposits. Definitely go and check that out, man. I mean, it's free money. You can bet for free money, and you can bet on future waivers, like we said with TJ Watt, Defensive Player of the Year, or wherever else you want to bet on, man. So
just please gamble responsibly.
Yes, but check them out. Link in the description below. And thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one. Here we go, Steelers.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!